That loss was so gut-wrenching. So gut-wrenching. For so many different reasons. I think, fundamentally, the Saints have their guy, and that's what the film shows. Tyler Shuck. He looked amazing, and he's beat you in two different ways. In this game, amazing in the pocket, stood in there. Panthers pass rush needs to get there, yes. But the arm angles, some of the throws he made, just sitting back there, tall, statured, putting the ball on a dime. Especially on intermediate routes. That's where he killed the Panthers. On that last drive, the touchdown drive late in the game, was hitting throws over the middle of the field. And it's tough to see him do that. The Saints are a team that clearly they're in a rebuild. Fell off last season. That hemorrhaged into this season. But now the quarterback is changing things. And it's tough to watch that as a Panthers fan, especially as you're coming off your bye week on top of the world, first place, division in your hands. You could win your next two and you're in the playoffs. Well, we all know that didn't happen. And it's tough to pass around the blame. I actually watched more film on this game than I've watched all season. That's partly why this video is coming out a little later today, because I had to watch the All-22 multiple times, because there's a lot of instances where it's tough to do the finger pointing. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Bryce Young had a bad game. I don't think he elevated the team, which is my concern moving forward. Bryce Young's inability to really push you over the edge. And he did that in the second half against the Rams. He did that against Atlanta. He did that even against Miami in the second half earlier this season. But there's very few times where Young is showing his ceiling. Is showing that he can own this offense, elevate you, and put you over the edge. And he scrambles and moves the chains and manages the game, and he might hit one throw like he did to Coker. We'll break all that down. But his inability to elevate the team concerns me long term. We'll talk more about the details in a minute. I think also, to move the lens from Young, you got outcoached completely. I think Brandon Staley had a great game, and I warned you on Friday about those two, Staley and Shuck. Now, I'm not the type of guy to go, look what Tone said. Why didn't you just you watch the game? Why don't you just listen to this podcast, dude? Like, dude, you actually watch? You could just watch his program. Dude, you wouldn't even have needed to watch if you just listened to the Tone on Friday. Like, what are you doing on Saturday? You have plans on Saturday? That's so totally lame. Stay inside and watch the Tone. So I don't expect... I can't come out of that one pretty easily. But Staley had a great game. I think they were ready when it mattered to stop the Young scramble. They were ready to stop the scramble when it mattered. They contained the run. They gave up 4.1 yards per carry, yes. That's this year, the NFL, they're actually running the ball really well. That's usually about just below league average. That's actually slightly below average, 4.1 yards per carry in this particular season. So they didn't let you win with the run. They didn't let Young on 3rd and 14 scramble for a first down late in the game that would have given the Panthers the ability to potentially run out the clock or end the game. They didn't give up that when it mattered. And they contained Young for the most part. They dared him to step up in the pocket. They dared him to do it. Actually, similar game plans in that sense between the Panthers and Saints, in that the Panthers dared Shuck to step up in the pocket. The Saints dared Young to do that. And Shuck, I think, if you just focus on that specific thing, oh my gosh, he was 100 times better than Bryce Young. 100 times better. Now, Young, you can't take it away from him. He was great at scrambling, move the chains. I think he had 3 first downs with his legs. That's what Dave Canales said in the press conference. The problem with the scramble, though, is it allows Young to make up for some shortcomings with his passing ability. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that on the first drive of the game, it's 3rd and 5. Young scrambles out for 15 yards. That's not a negative play to me. I put a little plus sign. I think that's a good play. And on paper, it's a great play. You move the chains, you get 15 yards. That's huge on 3rd down. But this is the first time I noticed it in the game, where it's 3rd and 5, Young scrambling. But before he scrambles, he has Jalen Coker wide open underneath. And Coker is between Demario Davis and Pete Werner. And Werner he has to make a decision in that moment. You have Leggett running down the seam. You have Coker going on a slant. And Werner needs to decide. You can see him a little bit of a head on the swivel. And all of a sudden, his head turns to go with Leggett. His body starts running with Leggett. If Young gets it out to Coker, you're talking about maybe a 30, 40-yard gain on that play. Green grass. Now, Demario Davis is right there. So that's a timing play. It's either you throw it and you get your receiver killed, or the timing is perfect and it needed to be in that situation, and Coker's going 40 yards down the field. Now, again, it was still a plus play. Young scrambled. He got 15 yards, but there's meat on the bone with the passing game. That was the first time I noticed it. And then I think later in the game, you saw this poke its ugly head out again. And the Saints let you get some first downs on scrambles multiple times, but I think Young is too reliant on the scramble to make up for some of the shortcomings in his passing game. Another one, on the drive where they turned it over on downs, which, small moment here, but interesting case study. They run a screen on 1st and 10. So they have a series of downs, and then they end up doing the play to Hubbard, the controversial play where Hubbard runs it. I think he's like lined up as a fullback, and it's on 4th and 1, and the Saints stop it. So they call a screen play trying to get the Saints off balance. On paper, this was an awful call because the Saints were ready for it. You actually see, I think it's Granderson or one of the edge guys is lined up on Leggett in the slot. So you're like, what the hell? Mismatch. All of a sudden, I think it's Tremble motions across to the same side that the edge rusher's on, covered on Leggett. They run the screen, and, well, the edge sees it coming. He's there. Young has to throw it in the dirt because Dowdle's looking for it. But again, it's one of those plays where if he gets to Dowdle, he's going to get killed, or maybe the edge can actually step up and make an interception. You don't know. On that play, do you blame Canales, who called the play, or do you blame Young, who should have saw the mismatch in the slot and could have changed the play at the line of scrimmage? And that's why you have to watch this film a million times, because there's instances like that where I think Canales gets the blame, and on paper, it looks awful. But I think there has to be some ability for the quarterback to go, look at this matchup we have. Like, Leggett is on a 300-pound edge rusher. Are we going to do something about that? And get the ball out quick to him, or make some sort of adjustment. Catch the defense out of balance. Instead, they run the play call, and it ends up turning into a no gain. So back to the scrambling, which I think, again, Young had a good game for him. It wasn't great. He didn't elevate the team. And I think ultimately the scrambling is becoming a little bit of a crutch. I do. And I'm going to talk about the implications, how you fix this long term on Wednesday's program. So come back for that. But I want to talk more about the evidence here. So 2nd and 10, same drive, the drive where they turn it over on downs. Young sails one to Tremble. So it's a bad throw. It's 2nd and 10. I think it's a play action. And he just completely sails it to him. Inaccuracy. I think there was another inaccuracy earlier in the game where he missed T-Mac for the touchdown. I think it was a deep post and he missed T-Mac. The defender was there, but it could have been a better throw. They come back third down. Third down. And here's another instance where he gets away with the scramble. So he could have stepped up and got the ball to Leggett, who was wide open for about 5 seconds on this play. So it's a third down. Leggett is in the slot. He runs like a little slant, wide open. If Young, again, just steps up in the pocket, so he doesn't think scramble, he steps up in the pocket and gets the ball to Leggett. Similar to what you saw on the first drive with the Coker play. Instead, he does the Russell Wilson thing. He spins around. And the funny thing about this play is if this was Pat Mahomes, what you would maybe get the same exact sequence of events. Just on the scramble, Mahomes would do that thing where he's sort of off balance and just sidearms it in. Because Leggett, who's running the slant, he's in the middle of the field. He's wide open. And if he runs to the right pylon, he's getting a house call. Instead, Young ends up moving the chains. So he tucks it and runs. He gets 10 yards. So you get the first down. But again, meat on the bone. That's the whole purpose of this. And I'm not saying Young needs to be perfect. He's going to have inaccuracies. There's going to be missed opportunities. I just think a lot of people are undervaluing the missed opportunities in the passing game because he's so good with his legs. And he's able to move the chains with his legs, but they're unable to consistently hit these passes. They're unable to consistently hit these passes. And I think the defense, who completely broke down on the final drive of the game, where Olave just catch after catch after catch after catch, they're held to a completely different standard than this offense is. And maybe that's the do right more thing and all of that. But I think the defense is expected to be perfect, and the offense, they're just not expected to make as many plays. Now, I want to talk about this quickly because some of this is coaching. It is. I think in general, Dave Canales has very low expectations for the quarterback. I think in 2024, this was, I don't trust the quarterback. I'm going to coach around the quarterback completely. I'm just going to avoid. It's like avoidance, right? I don't want to talk about the quarterback because I just want to avoid it. I want to avoid the topic. Now what you're seeing is it's avoidance, but also in the play calling. And I think Young's floor has been raised by Dave Canales. The ceiling has gone down, and he's telling you with his actions. Canales on 3rd and 23. So the story in this drive was penalties. Akem Ekwonu had the dumb penalty where he pushed Cameron Jordan after the play. Sets up this 3rd and long. And this actually happened earlier this season, a similar sequence of events with the Patriots. So it's 3rd and 23. Canales just waves the red flag, or white flag, calls a run to Hubbard. I think they pick up about 10. He doesn't even think pass. So you have Tyler Shuck on the other side. Here are their 3rd and longs. Tyler Shuck, 3rd and 13. They hit on a pass. 3rd and 14, he gets sacked. 3rd and 10, they run another pass, he misses. So not as long as 3rd and 23. But on the other side of the field, you have Kellen Moore, who's literally saying, Chuck, go out there and we'll let you do whatever. You want to make the off-schedule, crazy scramble stuff in the first game in Week 10, you can do that. This game, step up in the pocket and be a beast. Moore is just letting his guy do whatever. Canales on the other side, he's waving the white flag on 3rd and long. And you know why this matters to me? Because I do buy into this. And I think football, it's a lot like dogs. You ever see a little dog like roll over on its belly? You know what I mean? Like you see the big dog go up to the little dog go up to the big dog, and the little dog just like rolls over on its belly. It submits. I think Canales submitted on this play. What does Tyler Shuck turn this 3rd and 23 into? Young is not trusted by his coach. They run it on 3rd and 23. Tyler Shuck gets the ball back. 17-play, 95-yard drive for Tyler Shuck. 17-play, 95-yard drive. Same exact thing that happened against the Patriots. Marcus Jones had the 90-yard touchdown return earlier this season. It was after a 3rd and long where Canales called a run. I think in those moments, sometimes you need to say as a coach, the momentum's swinging here. I know, look, is Young going to step up in the pocket? Is he going to get his feet set? Probably not. But I'm still going to call that play downfield because I know that I'm handing the other team a gift by doing this. I am the proverbial dog rolling over on its belly saying, you're dominating me. And I think that was a sign of weakness for the coaching staff. I think it was clear as day. Here's Dave Canales on exactly that topic.
11-minute drive certainly didn't help, just standing on the sidelines. But is there a way to get over that pre-half lull that the team has been in all year?
Yeah, this one was avoid penalties. So, we had a penalty that set us back in the drive, and we were not able to overcome that adversity. So, simply put there, I wouldn't kind of broad stroke this in any, it continues to become a factor, but we had a successful drive in the 2-minute and got points out of it. So, yes, I would love to have that consistent execution.
And again, just such a submissive answer. The penalty ruined the drive. The penalty ruined it, so I'm going to just run it on 3rd and 23. The drive was over when Ikemekonu pushed Cameron Jordan down. I hate that. I hate that. And I guess you're a do-right more. We're going to win with the turnover, and I get that's your brand of football, but I have a lot of trouble agreeing with Canales' decision there. I think you need to throw it. You need to just say, look, this is the guy I have. This is Bryce Young, and I'm going to let him make a play. Let's talk about this play as well, juxtaposed from what I just talked about, but related. So Canales' whole thing is let's take the conservative option. Well, then he gets into the 4th quarter. You have a 17-10 lead. There's 10:56 left in the game. I believe you're on the 35-yard line. You can line up on 4th and 1 and kick a 52-yard field goal. So what does Canales do? And again, this is when the offense is cooling down. Young looks inaccurate on this drive specifically. You just called a screen. You missed it. You had an overthrow to Tremble. On the drive previously, you try to get it to T-Mac on 3rd and short. You throw it short of the sticks. Instead of taking the 52-yard field goal with Ryan Fitzgerald, they go for it on 4th and 1. I thought this call was so dumb. You had the opportunity to extend the lead to 2 scores. Ryan Fitzgerald's been dynamite for you all season. I think that call was, I'm not saying it was the worst call in the game, but it was close. It was close overall. I think in terms of, you lump everything together, the penalties, all of it, I think that might have been a turning point. And I'm not saying Fitzgerald's a surefire to make a 52-yard field goal. He's been really good. He's been clutch. He has not been the problem for this team. You take the points there. You do. You make it out of reach. You had the opportunity to make that game out of reach. You did. And this was before the defense completely imploded on the last drive of the game and also the second to last drive of the game. It was before that. But at that point, you need to just take the points and make the game out of reach. You need to take the points there. And I actually got the sequence wrong. So they turned it over. They didn't get the 4th down. Then the Saints turned it over on downs. And then the Panthers came back and threw it short of the sticks on 3rd down, went 3 and out. And then you give the ball right back to Tyler Shuck, who goes 7 plays, 78 yards down the field for a touchdown. Yay. Well, that one, I want to talk for a minute about that because I got so upset during the game and I was blaming Young during the game, but it actually wasn't his fault completely. They threw it short of the sticks 3 times in that game. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? It's 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. These are manageable situations. You're throwing it short of the sticks. And I actually went back and watched all of them. I believe two were to Jimmy Horn. One was to T-Mac. And in all circumstances, the coverage was good. I think there was an opportunity to get it to Jalen Coker on the T-Mac one. But what you saw, and this is an underrated problem, Canales talked about it a couple of weeks ago, the depth of the routes. I think on that T-Mac one specifically, so you go 3 and out, Shuck gets the ball back, goes 7 plays, 78 yards for a touchdown. You have T-Mac open. T-Mac sticks his foot in the ground right at the sticks. But then he's so long, he comes back. It's a little hitch route. And he ends up bringing his leg back, loses his momentum. Now he's falling backwards, away from the sticks. He just doesn't get deep enough on the route. I think it was the same thing with Jimmy Horn on another instance of that. And you could say that Young should have taken the receiver downfield. I think Coker was going downfield on one of those. It was like a 7-yard out or so. It would have been tough. Young would have had to throw it without Coker looking, so he would have needed to trust Coker to be there. But I think throwing it short of the sticks, your receivers need to get deeper. They need to be more conscious of that. So T-Mac, Horn, that wasn't all on Young. I thought it was. You know what I haven't named yet? And all these national talking heads, they always come back to the same point. It's like, it's the height. Bryce Young's just not tall enough. He's 5'10". He can't see back there. You know, Cam Jordan, he's 6'5". Bryce Young, he's 5'10". He can't see over Cam Jordan. That's the problem. The height is the problem. He just can't see. He's like Tyler Shuck with a blindfold. He just can't see. He's too small. And I haven't named any of that as being the problem here. It's like, I think that's just a lazy take overall. Drew Brees was 6 foot. He's one of the best pocket passers in NFL history. Sorry to drop that to you on Saints Week. I'm sorry. But seriously, it's not the height. And that's going to bring me to another point here. We're 24 minutes in. Holy crap. I told you, this was a very long set of production. I have like 5 pages here. Normally I have a nice little production sheet and just go right through it, and it's like a play sheet. Actually, it's the opposite of Dave Canales' play sheet. It's cohesive. But the problem is I got so caffeinated yesterday by accident. I drank one of those Reigns, Hopthor Bjornsson, the mountain guy from Game of Thrones. He has his own energy drink. And I drank one of these things, and then I go to the coffee shop to work, and they're like, Tone, you got to try this new green tea. And I'm like, sure, green tea doesn't have caffeine. So I'm already tweaking bad. Like, I'm already like, itching the skin, just like tweaking bad. And then they give me these green tea. Turns out it's a turbo green tea, which means it's got 150 milligrams of caffeine. So the green tea that they farm and like all that, no, they just take the green tea and they it looked like something you would get in a small little baggie on a street corner. It wasn't a tea bag. So they give me this thing, and all of a sudden, I'm never drinking caffeine again. That's my experience from that. Literally in the venue, just like, I couldn't move. I locked up. I completely locked up, and the girl next to me is like, can I read your horoscope? And I'm just like, and she's like, you must be a Taurus. Oh my gosh. And I ended up watching film all day after that. Finally, it went away. Never drinking energy drinks again. My Pinocchio nose is showing. But oh my gosh, that was awful. That was awful. Let's talk about the quarterback. I think inconsistency, consistency, blah, 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 blah. It's one of those buzzwords that people keep throwing around. Consistency. Like Panthers.com. How can we be more consistent? That's what they say. Everyone's talking about consistency. Consistency. You know what that is? To me, it's footwork. I think the quarterback needs some help with the footwork. We're going to talk about how he can do that long term on the Wednesday program. Talk about my level of faith in the footwork going into these next games. Pivotal 3-game stretch, playoff stretch. You need the footwork to be good. And even on the best throw of the game, the Jalen Coker touchdown, best throw of the year for Young, arguably, I don't think that was a footwork throw. In other words, it's a 2-step drop and he gets the ball out. I think he knew he was going to Coker. It was obvious, and he knew he had the matchup, takes the 2-step drop and just chucks it downfield. That, to me, isn't what Young needs to work on. Now, great decision. Again, not going to take it away from him. But I think the throws that he's making versus the throws that he's missing, on the ones that he's missing, the footwork is the problem. And some of it is an inability to step up in the pocket. I think he just needs to step up instead of being run first on a lot of these plays. There was 1 2nd and 7. They call a play action. It's a rollout. He has McMillan and Evans wide open down the field. So he's rolling, play action, he's rolling out. Cameron Jordan's coming right at him. And instead of Young sitting there, setting his feet and throwing it, he has guys wide open on both levels. I think it's Evans over the top and McMillan underneath. And instead of setting the feet and throwing it, he does like one of these step back jumpers on Cam Jordan, and he ends up juking Cam Jordan, but he could have had a huge play downfield. Instead, it's a 2-yard scramble. And now what that goes down on X is people like, they can't block. They just can't block Cam Jordan. He's so good. How does he do this to Ekwonu every game? And I think it wasn't on Ekwanu's side, that play. But it's just, it goes down as that. It's spun as that. But I think in that situation, it's like there's a throw to be had. Yes, the guy's coming downhill, but like you can set your feet. You have space. Instead, he's trying to create separation like James Harden trying to get a mid-range jumper. And it's just, that's not how you play. I think it was more of a run-first orientation for Young, and I'll talk about what this means. I don't think you can win in short. A little preview into the Wednesday program. I don't think you can win with that formula. And the footwork needs to improve for Young. And scoring 17 points, fundamentally, I saw some comments on this. It's not enough to win. It's not enough to win. Let's do one more Canales minute, and then we will get out of here. So Canales, I don't even know what the clip is. Here's the coach.
They didn't have a lot of problem with most of their calls.
Dave, last time you guys lost to the Saints, you said you took it personally the way you guys lost. This game, following this game, Nick Scott said something to the effect of, we look like we had come off a bye week. What does that mean to you, and what does that say about the way you guys prepared coming into the game?
I like the way we prepared. The guys had a great look in their eyes all week. They were excited about the opportunity, understanding what we're playing for, all that. Felt the focus was there. It was not clean enough from an execution standpoint, and whether that's the bye week or whatever, it doesn't matter. We have to be able to execute at the most basic, fundamental part of our football.
68-minute press conference. Canales didn't talk about the quarterback hardly at all. So, again, I'm not telling you that Young lost you the game by any means. Don't spin it that way. That's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you that Young didn't elevate the team. He didn't elevate the team, and this team clearly has an identity, which is to win on defense, which is to win with the run. You had 4.1 yards per carry. That's not going to carry the load. It's not. And then the defense was inconsistent. I think the bend don't break took you far until the fourth quarter. And then what happens is you make a critical mistake, Lathan Ransom. I know it was a controversial penalty. I get it. But he lays his shoulder into Tyler Shuck, sets up the game-winning field goal. On the drive before, there were some huge coverage breakdowns. Horn didn't go into it in his press conference. Horn actually refused to talk to the media after the game. Mike Jackson, same thing. breakdowns in coverage. They weren't ready. And some people are blaming Evero because J.C. Horn had the little quote where he goes, they caught us in the same call on that last drive where Shuck, I think it was the second to last drive where Shuck was hitting Olave over and over and over and over again. And if you watch the drive, yes, it's tempo, it's the same call, but you have to look at the breakdowns too. I thought Nick Scott got caught a couple times. He's like 50 yards away from the action, playing just not center field. He's in the stands. Roseboom and Wallace looked confused a couple of times. And maybe they should have done more to stop the bleeding there. Like even use a timeout or something, but the game was coming down to the end and maybe you had to do that. I think Horn was really pissed because ultimately that ended with Shuck throwing a touchdown to Olave, and that was mano-a-mano on that play. And I said it on Monday, I go, that's a rep where, yes, sometimes Horn's going to win it, but also sometimes Olave's going to win it. He's that good. I don't get on Horn for losing that rep. Let's conclude with this point. I think Tyler Shuck was great in that game. I think his footwork was a lot better than Young's. I know Young had a better rating, but I think they left a lot of meat on the bone. This wasn't about the box score. This was about there were huge opportunities and you didn't capitalize on them. Instead, you got caught scrambling, or it was an inaccurate throw. In the case of Sanders, he just sailed it way over his head, sailed one on Tremble, sailed one on T-Mac. Those aren't going to cost you points. Ooh, it's not going to hurt the PFF grade a lot, but, well, QB ratings, ESPN, but needless to say, meat on the bone with the pass game. This team is too turnover dependent, and that's going to be a theme of Wednesday's program. Way too turnover dependent. Turnovers are nice to have. Oh, I have a good joke written. I have a really good joke written. Oh my gosh. This joke is awesome. This joke is so funny. This joke is like literally so funny. Too bad they're going to need to wait for the Wednesday program to hear my super funny joke. It's so, dude. This is the